Desert Dust, Chapter 1. Kathy King Johnson. The Red Desert area of Wyoming, formed by the hoodoos, haystacks, mesas, and draws, is a land as primeval as the dark side of the moon. Among the arroyos, fossils line the canyon walls, and dinosaur bones and arrowheads resurface in the wind. Teepee rings mark the earth, and the original wagon tracks from the Oregon Trail still scar the land. The Badlands of the Red Desert. The high desert sizzles in the summer and blizzards in the winter. Only a few inches of rain fall every year. Inhospitable, uninhabitable. It seemed that everyone who came kept going, from dinosaurs to settlers. The ground was so hard, few towns had cemeteries. Even the dead couldn't settle here. In this no man's land, the mustangs ruled the range, and the king of the mustangs was a Palomino stallion, said to be the son of the Spanish Barb and a Kentucky Palomino mare who escaped from a ranch. His name was Desert Dust. Silver and gold, silver and gold. His mane and his coat shimmered in the sun. In the moonlight, his pale hide faded to the dull gray of the ash beds, offering camouflage from predators. He was as if stenciled in gold, his coat unscarred, his mane and tail full and fierce. Born as the last winter storm hit, the tips of his ears were cropped from frostbite, his only blemish. As a mature stallion, he was invincible. Like lightning in the night, he struck quickly, stealing mares from other herds and fighting the other stallions. He was never defeated. His band was the largest. Every year his mares threw many foals. In summer, his herd pastured in the higher lands, seeking grass among the rabbit brush, greasewood, tumbleweed, and sage. He drove his band to find water in the mountain basins. They drank from ice cells, water ponds that had been frozen, then covered by sand, sometimes lasting far into the summer. When the temperatures dropped and the snow flew, the horses sought the juniper winterlands. Desert Dust and his band moved freely through Adobe Town, volcanic remains of the Eocene epoch, a labyrinth of natural fortresses. The wind and the river carved formations of spires, pillars, arches, and window rocks. Minerals like iron, copper, and manganese striped the ash bed with bands of red, pink, purple, and green. Butch Cassidy once hid his gang along this outlaw trail. From Skull Creek Rim to the mazes of the haystacks, Desert Dust, his family, his mares, his colts, his fillies roamed without fear. Until one day in the 1940s, when wild horse Frank Robbins caught sight of the stallion. Robbins was a mustanger who rounded up over 30,000 wild horses off of the range and sold them. They sold as rodeo horses, bucking stock, and cow ponies. The worst went to auctions where they were often sent to slaughter for dog food. In an epic battle of man against nature, Robbins tried to capture Desert Dust over and over. He rounded up Desert Dust's herd only to have the stallion break away at the last minute. The horse left his family in the trap and hid among the labyrinths where he could not be caught. 7 or 8 times Robbins tried to catch the outlaw stallion, and each time Desert Dust escaped. He stole more mares and started new bands. And each time Frank Robbins lost Desert Dust. But the stallion grew older and his legs slowed, and Frank Robbins became one of the first mustangers to enlist a pilot with a Piper Cub airplane to run the wild horses into traps. His business took off, and he trapped so many horses with each roundup, he couldn't find enough trucks to haul them away. Aided by the airplane and mounted on the red Westman mare, a mare whose thoroughbred blood ran back to Hamiltonian, Robbins set out to trap the stallion. He invited a photographer friend, Vern Wood, to accompany him. A corral was built into the end of the canyon. Hidden by the rim of a hill, cowboys moved into place to get behind the horses. And then, engine whining, the plane flew low, stampeding Desert Dust's herd. They ran through the canyons, dust rising, sweat steaming, blowing hard. 18 mares and 12 foals ran right into the trap. When Desert Dust veered away to make his bid for freedom, Robbins put the spurs to the Westman mare, the fastest horse on the Wind River. Her long strides ate up the miles, and Desert Dust made a wrong turn onto Delaney Rim. Trapped beside the sandstone ridge, he could go no further. He turned to take a look back at his captors, at his last chance of freedom. Vern Wood shot the photo that circled the globe. Desert Dust became a postcard. Americans from east to west admired the proud stallion who symbolized the taming of the Old West. Artists painted his pictures. He appeared on calendars and book covers. Children all over America played Desert Dust, imagining themselves as cowboys. Robbins brought Desert Dust back to his ranch in Glen Rock. He tried to train him. Despite every effort, using his best cowboys and the top training techniques of the time, Robbins could not master Desert Dust. If they roped his neck, he would choke himself. So they roped his front feet to throw him and stop him. At last he accepted the saddle and the halter, but he would not allow anyone to ride him. Even hobbles wouldn't stop him. More and more people came to the ranch to see the stallion. Robbins also took him to rodeos for public appearances as a bucking horse. He became every bronc buster's biggest challenge. No one could stay on him. Desert Dust would never be ridden. He never gave in. It was Frank Robbins who gave up. He turned Desert Dust loose with the herd. He was put to stud and began to sire more golden foals. Finally, Hollywood came to Glen Rock, Wyoming. In 1947, they shot a movie starring Desert Dust called Fight of the Wild Stallions. The short documentary was nominated for an Academy Award. The horse's portrait was painted and hung in the Capitol building in Cheyenne. The story of Desert Dust brought awareness to the plight of the Mustangs. Velma Wild Horse Annie Johnston led a movement to ban mechanized roundups of Mustangs. The bill, called the Wild Horse Annie Law, passed in 1959. Wild Horse Annie said, "He is a symbol of freedom for all. He is our American heritage, as meaningful to us as the battlefield at Yorktown or the White Church at Lexington. Even more so because he is a living symbol." And even Frank Robbins, who pioneered the use of airplanes in roundups, who captured Desert Dust with the help of a plane, approved of the law, saying, "They outlawed the plane for roundups, and since then the horses have had it easier. I'm kind of glad, because if they hadn't, there wouldn't be a one left." The ghost of Desert Dust gallops the red desert to this day, and the proof of his passing is in the golden foals of Adobe Town, Palomino foals born year after year, a rich vein of gold dust painting the red desert, more rare than uranium running in the rims, and more valuable than oil and gas flowing under the Desert Dust.